Am I the antagonist for not telling my mom she can move into my spare bedroom after she was laid off? My boyfriend, 29 years old, and I, 30 years old, moved in together last year and live in a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom apartment. We are planning on possibly moving across the country towards the end of next year, 2024, and are actively paying down our student loans to increase our savings for a future down payment on a house. We are considering getting married later on. My mom, 57 years old, was laid off from her job this week. Her rent has been slowly increasing, and she asked if she could move into our spare bedroom while she finds a new job and a new place to live. I didn't outright tell her no, but I also did not say yes either. Here's the issue. My mom suffers from anxiety, obsessive-compulsive disorder, OCD, and post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. Her problems can make it difficult for others to be around her, let alone live with her. She becomes anxious if things are not her way and can be controlling and sometimes manipulative. Her focus is mainly on me, as I am an only child, and her mother. She has mentioned in the past that she will be sad on my wedding day. The reason I don't want her staying in our spare bedroom is that 5 years ago, she went through a similar situation. She didn't have a job, couldn't afford rent, and didn't want to live with her mother. So she came to stay with me until she got back on her feet. For the next 3 years, I financially and emotionally supported my mom. I was 25 at the time, and her OCD negatively affected my life, causing me to suffer from depression. However, I kept this a secret from her. She has always been extremely dependent on me. She has told me multiple times that wherever I go, she will move to be close to me. The only reason I moved out was to attend graduate school across the country. After graduating, I moved back, but this time I moved in with my boyfriend instead of my mom. She talks about us living together again to save money often. She keeps emphasizing the importance of being there for family. However, I don't think she understands how much I have sacrificed for her since her divorce from my dad when I was in high school. I have taken care of finding apartments for us, completing job applications for her, giving in to her wishes and requests, lying about my life to avoid triggering her OCD, and setting money aside in case I need to financially support her, as she has no retirement or savings of her own. She claims I am the only family she has, but honestly, I don't feel like I have much of a family at all. My boyfriend is supportive of me and my desires. I'm just unsure if it's selfish of me to not want my mom to move in with me again, especially now that she lost her job and doesn't have savings to afford her current place. I don't want to sink into another depression and run the risk of losing my boyfriend in the process. However, I also feel an immense guilt for not taking her in, and generally struggle to say no to her. Would I be in the wrong if I don't let her move in with me? It is understandable that you have concerns about your mom moving in with you again, given the negative impact it had on your mental health in the past. Your well-being and that of your relationship with your boyfriend should be a priority. It sounds like you have already made significant sacrifices and provided support for your mom in the past. It is okay for you to prioritize your own needs and set boundaries. It may be helpful to have an open and honest conversation with your mom about your concerns and explore alternative options for her, such as assistance programs or finding affordable housing. Am I the antagonist for telling my stepmom she's pathetic and doesn't get to boss my mom around? My parents divorced when I was 5 and my sister was 3. For a while during and post-divorce, my dad was trying really hard to win my mom back. I remember he would use my sisters and my upset about the divorce. For me, it was hard to go from our family being together to 2 separate homes and families. For my sister, the upheaval was hard for her. She really couldn't get used to bouncing from home to home. Throughout all of that, Mom did her best to shield us. And even though she must have hated my dad's guts for all the stunts he pulled, she kept some photos of him and our family from before up in the house. My sister and I felt reassured seeing them. Even though she didn't remember those times, I think it made her feel a little more okay with how confusing it was. And Dad only made it worse. Dad gave up on them getting back together eventually, and he insisted that everything we had at his house be from him and not Mom, and we could not have photos of Mom in the home. I was 8 when he met my stepmom. I'm not sure how soon she found out that Mom still had photos up of before, but it became a huge deal for her, and she told my mom she was not allowed photos of her man in Mom's house. My mom remarried when I was 10. We have a few photos of my stepdad's ex-wife at home, and some from when he was married to her, and my step-siblings were young. This is especially important to them because their mom is terminally ill with a condition that made her unable to take care of them. I think it's something to do with her brain. There are still photos of Dad at Mom's too. I'm less into it now that I feel worse about what Dad did. But my sister still feels comforted by them, and Mom always says he is still our dad, our family, and she wants it to be as much our home as it is everyone else's who lives there. The wall where these photos are is where Mom takes a lot of our back-to-school photos. My stepmom found out they were still up and went nuts on my mom a few months ago. She told Mom she had to do what she says, etc. It was insane. My mom told her to mind her business, and if she stays out of her home, she doesn't have to see or worry about them. My stepmom went on a rant about Mom a few days ago, and she was like, "How dare your mom not do what I tell her and take the photos of my husband down?" I told my stepmom she's pathetic for being so bothered that Mom was a good enough mom to accept photos of Dad for our sake, and that she doesn't get to boss my mom around. I also told her to leave my mom alone because none of this had anything to do with her. She told me I did not get to speak to her that way. I told her if she thinks she's earning my respect with her shit, then she's even more pathetic than I thought. It's been a rough few days. My dad and stepmom both say I was beyond disrespectful. Am I the asshole? It is not your responsibility to cater to your stepmom's insecurities and demands. Your mom has created a supportive and comforting environment for you and your sister by keeping those photos on the wall. Your stepmom does not have the right to dictate what your mom can or cannot have in her own home. Furthermore, your stepmom's attempt to control your mom and your family dynamics, especially regarding something as sentimental as family photos, is disrespectful and inappropriate. You have every right to stand up to her and defend your mom. Am I the antagonist for threatening to get my roommate's boyfriend kicked out because he won't respect my privacy? I am a 20-year-old living with 2 other girls, one of whom has a boyfriend who frequently stays over. We all share one bathroom, and that has never been an issue. However, there have been multiple occasions where I have been using the toilet, and the handle starts jiggling frantically. I quickly go to open it only to find my roommate's boyfriend saying, "I really need to go," or "Do you know where roommate is?" This has also happened twice when I was showering, which annoys me because the shower noise is clearly audible from outside the door. He never asks to use our things and never knocks. Whenever I hear him stomping up to my door, I always cover myself because I know he won't knock. I can't even wear a towel when going to the laundry room because I know he, and sometimes his unannounced friends, will be there, giving me a strange look. I haven't complained to anyone except my other roommate, who feels the same way, because we still have another semester to live together after signing the lease. I was planning to bite my tongue until recently. One day my roommate borrowed my fake ID to go out and I found it returned on my bed. Not only that, but when I opened my drawers, I noticed that my previously folded clothes were a mess, as if someone had tried to refold them. That night, when I was getting dressed for a secret meeting, I couldn't find my tights in my sock drawer. I am 80% sure that my roommate's boyfriend took them because I already discussed it with my roommate, and she said her drawers also looked messed up. And she had a missing bra too. When she told me this, I immediately knocked on my roommate's door to discuss the issue. I asked her to step out into the hallway so we could talk, and our other roommate overheard and joined us. We explained the situation to her, but she completely denied any involvement, claiming that neither of them did anything. When I asked her who else it could have been, she had the audacity to suggest maintenance maybe. I was furious. I told her to check her own belongings. I called her boyfriend out into the hallway for the 4th time and told him to start knocking on doors before entering. I warned them that if this issue continued, I would talk to the RA about him staying here without contributing financially. She gave me a very rude look before shutting her door without saying anything. Since then, she has refused to even look at me, and her boyfriend goes out of his way to avoid and ignore me. We are all part of a larger friend group, and one of my closer friends informed me that she was complaining to others about me, portraying me as attention-seeking and falsely claiming that her boyfriend is interested in me because no one else supposedly is. I feel like I'm going crazy, constantly doubting myself, even though I am not alone in experiencing these things. Our friends are talking about me and making me out to be some strange, desperate girl trying to create drama. Was I in the wrong here? It's clear that your roommate's boyfriend has been invading your privacy and making you feel uncomfortable. You have every right to address these issues and set boundaries with him. Your roommate's denial and attempt to shift blame onto maintenance is unfounded and disrespectful. It's important to prioritize your safety and well-being in your own home. If the issue persists, you should consider talking to your RA or someone in authority who can help mediate the situation and ensure that everyone respects each other's boundaries. It's unfortunate that your friends are spreading false rumors about you, but try not to let their opinions affect you. Your concerns are valid, and you deserve to feel safe and respected in your own living space. Would I be the antagonist for telling my out-of-country dad that they have to stop using my house for mail? A few years ago, my dad and his wife, my stepmom, retired and moved to Costa Rica. They asked if they could use our address in the US temporarily because, as US citizens, they still needed a US address. We agreed without much thought. Since then, our mailbox has been flooded with their mail. Around 80 to 90% of our mail is addressed to them. It's overwhelming, especially considering the amount of spam mail targeting retirees. Initially, we just set the mail aside. But when we mentioned how much we were receiving, they suggested we open their mail and discard the spam while keeping the important ones. This added an extra burden, as we had to go through each piece and decide what was important. Occasionally, they would inform us of an urgent mail coming, like a new credit card, insurance, taxes, or a small package, and ask us to forward it to a relative or friend who intended to visit them in Costa Rica. This required us to pay for shipping. Otherwise, we would give them the mail when they visited us. They visit our house 3 or 4 times a year for 1-2 week periods, mainly to meet with tax advisors and attend medical appointments. Prior to each visit, we start receiving Amazon packages nearly every other day, beginning a few months beforehand. These packages accumulate and occupy the entire space under our guest bed. When I mentioned the excessive amount, they simply thanked us for reminding them to bring 2 suitcases. We are 2 working professionals pursuing graduate degrees. making it challenging for us to handle the mail, drop off items at the post office, and maintain our own schedules. Therefore, would I be wrong if I asked them to change their address and stop sending packages to our house? It's becoming an unreasonable expectation for us to be their storage unit. I was considering suggesting they send mail to my aunt or my stepmom's son, both of whom frequently visit Costa Rica. Lastly, if this isn't unreasonable, what's the best way to communicate this to them while they are currently staying with us? It's understandable that you agreed to let your dad and stepmom use your address temporarily, but the situation has become overwhelming for you. It's not fair for them to burden you with their mail and packages, especially considering your busy schedules. To address this issue, it would be best to have an open and honest conversation with them. Mention that the influx of mail and packages has become unmanageable for you and that you need them to find an alternative solution. Suggest the idea of having their mail sent to your aunt or stepmom's son, as they visit Costa Rica often and would be able to deliver the mail personally. Explain that you appreciate their trust, but emphasize the need for boundaries regarding your time and space. Be clear in your communication and assertive. It's better to address this issue while they are currently visiting so that you can all discuss it together and find a solution that works for everyone.